Hey there, malcontents. How's everybody doing? Is this Naked News? No, I remember Naked News. Is that even a thing anymore? That's like a back in the day internet reference there, Kevin. Dora, good evening. How are you? Hey, K Variable. What's up? Everything and nothing. That is what's up. Daryl, how you doing? I haven't done this in a while. I need a little therapy. This is my free therapy. So, hey, Dan, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. Appreciate all the information that you send to us. Actually didn't know you were based out there. Carrie, down there from the South Sound. How are you doing? Oh, yeah. That's part of what we'll be talking about. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. I haven't done one of these in a really long time. I know I haven't done a pillow talk in forever. I haven't done a pillow talk in forever. I know a lot of people like pillow talk. I'm looking at the light and I'm like, damn, it's really uneven because I got, it's bright and sunny. And I really should just go outside and take a walk. I probably would feel a lot better if I just went out and took a walk. Went to visit my daughter's grandma, not doing well. Oh, Dora, I'm sorry to hear that. Very sorry to hear that. Let me do this, just so you don't have to. There, if I go like that, I can actually see. Now I just have to glance down a little instead of really look off to see y'all's comments. I don't need to see what I look like on camera because I don't think I'm running anything. There. We'll slide over a little like that. And now I'll just slide. I should have adjusted all this before I got on. I'm just like, screw it. I'm just going to get up there. Saw some people in Ballard on Four Corners. Oh, well, don't let some people in, another thing we'll be talking about, that's for sure. It's like, I don't even know where to start. I really don't. I'm really drained. I'm super drained today. I had a really busy day with real work, and which was a good thing. Real work is therapy. I hit kind of. We'll talk about that too, Shelley. Yeah, we're at that time of the year, and it's going to be like that all weekend. Where you wake up in the morning, if you get in your car, it's heat. And if you get back in the car in the afternoon, it's the other way, cold. Or if it's a slider, heat, cold. It's going to be like that all weekend. AC's running here. It kicked on actually just a little while ago. I turned the thermostat up. I had the office window open. I just closed it because I'm just wasting money, making Puget Sound Energy happy. Haven't been over there in a while. Where's there, Corey? Where's there? But yeah, it's like, where do you start over the last 48 hours? It's like, just where do you even start, right? Last night, 19-year-old drives over to a FedEx sorting center, their second largest facility in in the world. 4,500 people employed there. Shoots the place up. 8 dead, 4 wounded, 1 more wounded without gunfire. Then takes their own life. 19 was on both local and federal police watch lists. Had guns confiscated a year earlier. Was involuntarily committed when they took guns from the first time. So should never have owned a gun. Got another gun. Shot the place up. Let's put some perspective in here. There has been more people that have died from gun violence in 24 hours, whether that be by the police, by dispute, or by a mentally ill. They're all mentally ill white guy. They're all mentally ill white guys. Mentally ill white guy, there's been more people killed then who got blood clot, not died from blood clots, who got blood clots from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. One person died of 7 million people from blood clots in the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. One. We know of the 10 gun deaths in less than 24 hours. So if we extrapolate that 10, that's, 70 million. You would have to have, 70 million people. And we've paused the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and you have to look at it a little more carefully. 600 women a month get blood clots from birth control, but we're cool with that. But we're not going to do anything with the guns, right? We're going to offer up our thoughts and prayers. So, that's number one. That's just number one. This Adam Toledo thing, and how there's a story. Was it on USA Today? Story I read on how the story had evolved by Chicago officials. How in the immediate hours, right, it was a armed confrontation. Then it became a confrontation. Then it became two unidentified men in an alley. Then it became he had two unidentified men and he had a gun. Then it became two identified men and the gun disappeared. And then it was, he had a gun. And they have a timeline video. So there's these 17 videos. Yeah, Corey, they've been, I got my J&J and I don't have blood clots. And all I know is my Wi-Fi reception's never been better. And I have sudden communist inclinations. And I want to give all my money to Bill Gates now. There were 17 videos that the Office of Police the equivalent of our OPA, it's literally called OPA. In Chicago, it's the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, CIC Chicago. But it's same function. And they released 17 videos. In addition, the Chicago police released a 2-minute, 13-second. It's a video because it's 2 minutes, 13 seconds, and it runs like a video. It's really more like a slideshow, right? Because they show a static slide, and they're like, this is the time. Here's person one, here's person two, here's where the gunfire was, and then they'll show just a little tiny video clip. And they show a clip where there's a little flash of the gun in Adam Toledo's hand. His hand is all the way down. And he is in the middle of turning towards the cop. Adam Toledo, it tosses the gun essentially behind him, complies, and is shot, as we all saw. There was no confrontation. There was a discussion, last night, because the Back the Blue types, of course, they didn't back the blue on January 6th, but the Back the Blue types were, well, what would you do? What did you expect them to do? I don't know. There was a bunch of police officers there. We know also from the video and the sirens and everything that was coming down and around that there were other police officers coming on the other side of the alley. Those of you who've watched my streams in the field, we'll talk about that a little bit more too tonight. Look, I've never been in combat, but I know what a friggin' kill box is, and I don't know that from Call of Duty. And anybody who's watched my streams know I hate dark alleys. I friggin' hate them. I just hate them, and I hate when protest organizers would march people down dark alleys. SPOG 816 is a great example where the group all of a sudden made this tactical decision and turned and went down essentially a dark alley here. And hey, Corey, hold that thought for 1 second. Really? Here you go, Corey. That's for you. I don't know. Can you see? Yeah, I guess you can see that. I had a promising military career once upon a time. It's a story for another time. No, Corey, I just, it's one thing to say it, right? Everyone says, you got to prove it. I'm like, I can prove it. I have receipts. I'm holding up my receipts, man. That's all. There's only 50 people. As Corey, if you're Air Force, there's only 51 people a year. I've left out Washington, D.C. There's only 51 people a year that get that award every year. I was one of the 51 in 1985, one from each state. Yeah, I had a very promising career once upon a time. Anyway, back to kill boxes. Anyone who's watched the stream, I bitch whenever down dark alleys. 816 is a great example, and I have talked afterwards with some people in the protest community. Like, what was that decision? It was like, that wasn't the plan. That was the last minute decision. People, the plan weren't there, and that's why it was decided. And so, what would I done if I were that officer with Adam Toledo? Adam Toledo's running, and we know there's been gunfire. I have this thing right here. It's called a microphone for my radio because I know there's cops down the other side of the alley. And I would just be like, hey, there's a dude, and he's running towards you. And we have this side secure. And so if you get that other side, then he has nowhere to go. Okay? So I'm going to start heading your way. So please don't shoot me. But let's just corral him in, okay? Cool. That's the plan. That's what we're going to do. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be playing cowboy. They played cowboy. And then the city tried to cover it up. And then, the city, because one of the questions we had last night was, one of the questions, wait a minute, my bad, wait a second, I might have missed some comments here. We never saw him again. One of the things that people, that the city prosecutor was like, oh, we had a gun, or, he pointed the gun. He said something like just 5 days ago. And the city's position was they misspoke. They weren't informed on all of the information. So I'm like, wait a minute. So a prosecutor who is prosecuting this case for the other individual involved here, Reuben Roman Jr., didn't even have the most basic facts when they were at the court hearing. Which then, of course, just goes like, look, Roman Jr.'s got everything coming to him. The guy is worse than a dirtbag, right? Handed off a gun to a 13-year-old kid to try to get himself out of trouble. He's part of the reason the 13-year-old kid is dead. That's not me defending the cops. It's me stating fact. Guy has everything coming to him. But holy crap, they're not even presenting the most basic of facts at his bail hearing, which just goes to show you how the system, it's irredeemably broken. The whole Pat Robertson thing's really been rolling in my head. Absolutely, Shell. That's part of it, right? And he's already convicted in the court of public opinion because they spent 15 days smearing him. What was his crime? He was a runaway. I guess that's enough. There's another video that I saw today. And also, by the way, there were 2 police-involved shootings today. There's the one in Portland. We'll get to that one in a minute. And there was another one in Texas. So, and I saw, I know about those. But I saw another video today. That video involving a lawsuit in an incident that happened in 2020. I want to say June. It's June 2020. It's not the exact date. I don't know the exact date. I want to put away. Yeah, I don't know. Like, cancel culture is going to come after Pat now, Carrie. And Lauren, it's not even that he's woke. It's not even woke, right? Because it's like, it's out of control. It's out of control. So this video I saw June 2020, 73-year-old woman, white, walks out of Walmart with $13.88 of merchandise. She has dementia, bad. And she has another medical condition that in mind condition where it's very difficult for her to communicate or understand communication. And she is walking back to where she resides. It's never explained in the story if she's living independently or if she lives in a care facility. I would hope, based on the extent of her conditions, that she lives in a care facility. Walmart calls police, over $13.88. Police show up. Police are kind of like, hey, ma'am, you got to stop. She just keeps walking because she's only partially verbal and she has dementia. And the officer tackles her, manhandles her, breaks her arm, dislocates her shoulder, smashes in her face. 73 years old, $13.88 at Walmart. Saw the video. Because, body cam. This is what goes on with this officer in broad daylight. In broad daylight with a 73-year-old woman who has Alzheimer's. Over $13.88. Why? Because he went full Cartman. Respect my authority. Went full Cartman. Let's call it for what it is. They were suspended without pay for their transgressions, and they're now being sued in federal court for violations of I believe the Disability Act is where the lawsuit is coming from. There was a officer-involved shooting in Portland today of an unhomed individual who was in a mental health crisis. And I read a comment today on that one. Courtney, they all go full Cartman. This is the problem. I read a comment on this one down in Portland, which was, we'll send a politician or a civilian there, and let's see how they deal with it. And as people know, I have deep connections with the medical community at UW-Medicine, really deep connections. I know people in the emergency department. I know nurses. I know people that deal with people who are having the worst day of their lives on a daily basis. You know what? No one at Harborview, in the 8 years that I've had those connections, has ever had to shoot a patient that has been out of control. None of them. They de-escalate. I was an EMT. We never had to shoot a patient that was out of control in the back of the bus. Never. We de-escalated. The system is irredeemably broken. And it's not broken, it works perfectly. It works as designed. And this is the way that we have designed it. There was a major shift in how we police in this country. It started in the late 1960s after the civil rights movement started. And we had the party flip and the push for equality. And then we had to start dismantling these pieces. That was the first point. And then the next point was the war on drugs. And this was the next change in policing. And then we had 9/11 changed everything. And this was where we had the militarization of the police. And we've been at war as a country for 19 and a half years now, starting in Afghanistan. And who do police departments recruit out of? They recruit out of people in the military. I'm not disparaging our combat veterans. Corey, while waiting for surgery, waiting in the hallway, a police guy that didn't want to be there was fighting as I sat out in the hall. Good Lord. I'm just here. I saw the videos. I'm utterly disgusted how this happened in the country. Tracy, that video is, I agree, that Tracy, the video is just horrible. Every now and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to scroll up to see your comments. I'm not disparaging our combat veterans. I'm going to talk about combat veterans a couple of times. I have a lot on my chest. I just got to get it out. I got to get these words out of me or they're going to destroy me. They recruit for out of combat veterans. And the problem is that combat veterans operate at a different tempo. The interactions they have much higher risk than when you're dealing with civilians on the street in the United States. There's a thing that I've thought about too when I think about good cops. There are no good cops in this system. If you're in the system, you're in a system. You're in the system as it's designed. And you may be doing the right things, but you're still part of the system. I still have a lot of respect for Officer Chase. I call his name out specifically because Officer Chase asked to talk on camera. He was willing to talk on camera. I flat out asked him, it's like, you're in this system, right? And I saw Officer Chase arresting somebody in a live feed a week or two ago, arresting someone for chalk art. So I'm just like, I get it, following orders. But dude, history is full of people that followed orders doing shitty things. You can't apply this combat veteran mentality to civilians. If you comply, just comply. Okay? Adam Toledo complied. Show me your hands. Here are my hands. Hands up, don't shoot. Oops. 0.8 of a second. That's all it took. If you think about, it's 1/4 of a second for the brain to make a decision. So the decision to shoot had already been made when he said, show me your fucking hands. As the word hands left his lips, his brain had already decided, I am shooting this person. Because that's how long the signal got for the brain, to the hand, to the reaction, to the... Corey, I'm talking about Adam Toledo. Let's not cross the streams. And I'm not saying... Everything I've heard about, like everything I've read about this cop, but of course, Chicago has a vested interest right now in trying to portray Adam Toledo as a monster. But everything that I have heard about the officer that shot Adam Toledo, no use of force complaints, no bad, squeaky clean. That's the official word, squeaky clean. And I would think at this point, because of the internet and people that investigate this stuff, wouldn't, if they weren't squeaky clean, we've heard about it. But maybe we will hear about it. Yeah, exactly. Nuremberg should have ended the thing on following orders. The system as is set up today, if you comply, you might get shot. If you don't comply, you might get shot. It's very hard when you look at the statistics, the sum total body of evidence that's out there, that people of certain races and certain colors get differential treatment. There was the incident last year in Washington State over the summer that was filmed with this chud who I believe was from Monroe, Washington, in a pickup truck telling the Washington State trooper, I'm going to fucking kill you. And the state trooper has the gun out. And the guy won't comply, and he won't get out of the vehicle, and like flat out threatens him. And he drove off. He drove off. You imagine Southwest Washington, based on what we know on the 2 shootings down there? Could you imagine if a black person said that to a Washington State trooper in Southwest Washington, and the troopers got the gun out in their face, and is like, I'm going to fucking kill you. The trooper would have just friggin' dropped him. All cops are bastards. There you go. I said it. I said it. I just don't see it. It's like hard to put a label on it, because if you say it's irredeemably broken, then you say it wasn't. It sounds like you're saying it wasn't broken in the first place. The system as it exists today has to go. So you don't want any police anarchy? I'm going to come to your house. Yeah. Good luck coming to my house. Please come to my house. I like all the amendments. I think there should be crime and justice. I think people like Matt Gaetz, see what I did there? I think people like Matt Gaetz should answer for their crimes. Tracy, you and me 12. You and me both. That's funny, you and me 12. I saw Emily's thing up there before. I think people like Matt Gaetz should go to jail. I think, if you're going to sex traffic little girls, you're going to be so stupid that you're going to be paying for sex traffic little girls on Venmo. If you're going to be so fucking stupid that the payment history is going to be there in your public Venmo profile, you should, there should be punishment for that. There should be a organization that arrests people like that. There should be an organization that prosecutes people like that. And there should be punishment for people like that. I know, Dan, I know you're on here, right? We were talking, and I saw your message, right? We've been weaving in the whole idea of pretext stops. I mean, this is why Duante Wright is dead over a pretext stop. It's a fishing expedition. I talked about this on one of our shows. Cops is like the original reality TV show. You could say a show like Candid Camera. And Candid Camera was like, when I was a little kid, Candid Camera, I think, was in reruns. I don't think it was on anymore. And I remember when I was in high school, Joe Piscopo did a comedy album where he mocked Candid Camera, and I remember that. It was it was actually a really good comedy album. It was like the last thing Joe did. I don't know if that was before or after Johnny Dangerously. It's like the last thing Joe Piscopo did, and then he became a roid-raging weightlifting nut, but that's a whole separate story. Oh, Native American. Corey, Native American. 109 missing women in the entire state of South Dakota. 79 of them are part of they're indigenous. They're mostly part of the Sioux Nations. 109 missing women in the entire state, 79 are indigenous. Borfus just won the internet. I'm just, oh God, Shelley, there you go. So I mean, you could almost say the Candid Camera is like it's not really reality TV, but it was, at least they were honest that it was staged. Cops is like, to me, the original reality TV show. And I remember Cops has been on for decades. I won't watch it anymore because I've stopped watching it a while ago because, it feeds into the narrative of black suspects and race. And You see lots of pretext stops on cops, tons of them. And even pretty early on, car's going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. I'm going to pull him over. And even back in the day, I'm like, what? This car didn't use a turn signal after coming to a full stop at a stop sign at 2 in the morning on streets where there's nobody driving around anywhere. I'm going to pull him over. Respect my authority! But anyway, here's the stat that a sergeant or a lieutenant or a training dude said. And they got into why they did pretext stops. If a car is a burnout brake light, tail light, this is what they said. Burnout brake light, tail light, turns, they go blog. Burned out light. 1 in 8 chance they got a warrant. 1 in 8 chance. So who's more likely to have burned out light? People who are poor, right? Because they're not going to have the money, or if they're working multiple jobs trying to survive, they don't have the time. The impression it left on me, because I have money and time, is like, well, holy shit, if there's burned out light or a burning, you get that freaking thing replaced like that, because, right, you don't want to get pulled over on a pretext stop. Anyone have pretext stop? I've been pulled over pretext stop a couple of times. I got pulled over by a Washington State trooper out by Forks. My daughter was with me. Total bullshit pretext stop. Absolute bullshit pretext stop. To this day, I don't know what the fuck that cop was looking for. I don't. That was a long time ago. That was like 15 years ago, but I remember that stop. Daylight, it was like broad daylight and stuff. And the crazy thing is, too, we were driving. It was like a 60 zone. I'm going like 63 with the cruise control on. I saw him coming along. And I remember said to my daughter, it's so funny. You ever have like the radar go off? And I'm like, he's going to pull us over. She's like, what? I'm like, you watch. This guy's going to pull us over. And, and sure enough, I see the brake lights go on. I said, oh, yeah, he's going to pull us over. Turned around, lights come on. I said, I told you he's going to pull us over. Maybe because I sent the negative energy out into the universe. I had like a weird, like, what did I get? I got like I didn't use a turn signal for a lane change stop in, this was a total pretext stop outside the Microsoft campus. I was working at Microsoft, and for the winter months and like for grocery getting, I bought a cheap beater, a beater with a heater. I bought a Saturn minivan. Saturn made minivans. It was on the list one point on Consumer Reports. It was literally the worst vehicle you could buy. Like they had the list of 200 makes and models of used cars. And this one was number 200. I don't know if it was 200. Literally the worst one you could get. And that's what I had, beater with a heater. And overall, it looked outside. But, I mean, it still, looked okay outside. But at the end of the day, it's still a building with a beater heater. Corey, I was in a number of buildings. I was in 17, 36, 32, 33, and 121. I was in 120. I was in the very first group that went into 121. Oh, wow, look at that. 8, 9, and 13. 8, I think, aren't all those buildings gone? I was almost in... there's the building that used to be the hospital, the creepy building that was like beyond a maze. And I almost ended up in that building. And, that like this orphan building way off the campus with, I don't even think it even had a cafe in it and stuff. But I was in 121 when it was brand new and cool, and of course now 121 is ancient. Anyway, I got pulled over for not using turd signal there. And it was a total fishing expedition stop. I could tell he was kind of like trying to look around in the van. It's just total fishing expedition stop. Not to mention, they actually are looking for Microsofties there, right? That's big revenue generation territory around there. And I could have sworn I used my turd signal. I'm actually pretty good at it. Pretext stops are bullshit. There's a senator here in the state of Washington trying to end pretext stops. One state has ended pretext stops. Wilmington, North Carolina, I think. Some city in North Carolina stopped pretext stops. And they just focused on like speeding, stop sign, red light running, drunk driving, hardcore reckless driving, and that's it. You know, bad headlight, bad tail light, plates out of not expired. They don't pull people over there. And what a shock. Use of force complaints went down. Incidents, violence with the police went down. Traffic safety got better because they were targeting the real problems. Community perception about the police got better because they were harassing people, and the disparity of races on who got pulled over as an aggregate group didn't get to parity, but improved. But we're not going to end pretext stops. My view is there is a segment within this nation that is desperately clinging to power. And they're not going to let it go. They just don't want to let it go. And they're not going to let it go. They're eventually going to have to let it go because they're either going to turn us into a white ethno state and they're going to start purging people, or they're eventually going to get outnumbered. And, you know, they're running the math game and they could see that they're losing. Yeah. Breyer in particular has a wicked reputation. I'll tell you another, Edmonds police, Highway 99, they just live for pretext stops there. Go sit in Edmonds Municipal Court for a day if you want some sad education. When we all get past COVID and we can start doing this again. It's just one person after another has been pulled over on Highway 99 on pretext stops, who either then end up having suspended license or no insurance. And that's what's in Edmonds Municipal Court. And it's all the friggin' same thing. And their cars get impounded, and they got to pay the fines, and they get a $1,000 fine on top of it. And you just see the people. It's like $1,000. Some of these people have never seen $1,000 in their friggin' lifetime. Emily, it doesn't matter if they hire good people or not. It isn't just about hiring the sadists, which you've opened up the door to the next point. Let's say you're a good cop. I know some people on the far left are going to run with that statement. See, he's actually fash because he suggested there are good cops. We'll get into that fucking viewpoint a little bit too. Let's say you're a good cop. And let's say you got into policing for all the right reasons. You didn't get into policing because you were beaten up as a little kid and had your lunch money taken, or because daddy beat you when you got home when you got drunk and you wanted to feel safe. You didn't get into policing because you need the power trip. You didn't get into policing because you're a LARPer who couldn't get into the military, but police was as good as you could get in some shithole small town that'll take anybody. Let's say you're mentally wrapped tight. You don't come from generational or emotional trauma. That's also, you don't have a savior complex either. You are going into, I want to help people. I want to make the world a better place. I understand that the police have a perception problem. I'm going to change it. I am going to be the light. Let's say you get in for that. I'm not going in, by the way, to this angle with what you think. I'm saying this actually from a place of empathy. Because what happens in this job? If you're a police officer, whether you're in some podunk shithole town, or if you're in city of Seattle or New York or whatever, like it or not, you interact with a lot of people who are having the worst days of their lives. And you do it day in and day out. And that creates emotional trauma, whether you like it or not. And people deal with emotional trauma on the daily if they're going to deal with it in an unhealthy way. They kind of deal with it in two different ways. And both ways destroys them. Way number one is they sink into depression and anger, and so they compartmentalize. They start to compartmentalize so they can do their job. They don't beat up some suspect in an alley at 2 in the morning. They go home and beat up their wife or their kids. They just might snap once, but then it happens. Or you go numb. You lose your empathy. You lose your humanity. And you just become numb to it. And in your job, you almost become sociopathic because you have no feelings and no empathy. And so you just start going through the motions. The system turns you into a bad cop if you are a good cop. Because let's not forget, if you're experiencing trauma as a police officer, you can't raise your hand up and go, holy shit. That domestic violence thing that I just went into, where this woman has her throat slashed and the 2 kids have been stabbed, and that's the call I rolled up on, I am fucked up after seeing that. I need to talk to someone. Cops can't do that. Because not everybody in the cops in the system, right? You're weak. You're a piece of shit. What do you mean that bothers you? What are you, a pussy? Suck it up. And so they don't. The system grinds them down. If you saw trauma every single day, it grinds you down. My wife sees trauma every single day. She's seen it for decades now. Decades. It's grinding her down. I don't know how she keeps her humanity. It's really friggin' amazing to me. But she could talk about it, and I'm willing to listen. But in a vocation like policing, you can't. Maintain an even strain. The whole system's screwed. But it's irredeemable. You don't like it? You hate America? I should have brought the hat. You don't like it? You hate America? You could just move. Just leave. I don't hate America. I hate you. Why don't you just shut the fuck up? You just lose empathy. You become a bad cop. And the whole system is set up on racism. And it isn't make-believe. There's so much data. There's so much evidence. I mean, again, you even have Pat Robertson going, what the hell is going on? Anyway, there's that wonderful topic. Here's the next topic I'm going to talk about. This is probably going to make me dead in Seattle. Probably committing fake career suicide here. Hello. Worst discussions or table with a kid was my RN sister sharing the stories of the day over an awesome dinner. I mean, when I was at EMT, we would trade stories. EMTs, paramedics, we got strange sense of humors. That's part of how we process it. But it's the same thing, right? Burnout among EMTs and paramedics is just crazy ridiculous. Drug abuse among EMTs, paramedics, crazy high. Alcoholism for police officers, crazy high. Domestic abuse for police officers is off the friggin' charts as a vocation. That's compartmentalization. Something too, it's just me bringing out about how if you're in that role and people in their worst days, cops that are BIPOC, they pull over a Karen and a Karen goes off on a racist tirade on them, which happens. You don't have to dig hard to find police body cam videos of some Karen going on a complete racist tirades on Black, Latinx, Asian, indigenous officers. Take you 30 seconds to find them. And they have to just stand there and take it. I mean, if somebody's in my face, like just in my face, like about Jews, it's going to be every fiber in my being to want to destroy that person in that moment. Now put me in body armor and pepper spray and handcuffs and a taser and guns and a lot of authority. That's a lot of poison you got to swallow. All right. So here's the next thing I want to talk about. Oh, totally. They don't want to hear it. See, that's the nice thing. That was one of the things. Dr. Mrs. Malcontent, when she had her list of things I want to find in a future husband, somebody not in medicine, that was her no list. But because I had been an EMT and because I understand a lot of medical terminology, you can at least have the conversations and can empathize and understand, I made the cut. So, total gallows humor, Dad. Like, oh my God. I'll tell you a gallows humor story. There was a dude. This is the gallows humor story. Here you go. There was a dude, heart attack in a hot tub, lived by himself. And it was a while before anybody figured out he was missing. And my response to this is like, man, that's some good soup. I told somebody, not in emergency medicine, that joke, what my view on it was, and got positively roasted for my lack of empathy. So there's my thing there. See, Emily, there you go. It's some good soup. All right, let's talk about the next thing. Oh, damn! Really? I didn't bring mine in here. There's been a lot of changes in who organizes protests, and see, that's been evolving for the last year in Seattle. I talk with people who are streamers in other states. I talk with people who are organizers, protest organizers in other states. I talk to people who traveled in other states. I've talked to people who are medic or lawyer guild or observers in other states. I am universally told the same thing, Seattle and Portland, that when it comes to certain things, comms, car brigade, bike brigade, safety, like Seattle's got their shit tight. The country looks to Seattle on how that's done. Full stop. When it comes to cancel culture, drama, infighting, backstabbing, the rest of the country looks at Seattle and Portland and goes, what the fuck is wrong with you? Real serious. Just like, what the hell? So, if there's a protest that's planned tonight. No streamers. I respect that. But then there was another thing on there. No peace police. Direct action. And then at the bottom, in support for Black Lives. And the protest that's planned tonight, I'm not saying it's well known. It's all over social. is in support of Adam Toledo, Duante Wright, and Black Lives. If you're a white person dressed in black bloc, breaking shit and setting fires in the name of Black Lives, you're a piece of shit. There, I said it. I'm done holding it in. I've said it. Because here's you're peace police, or you're fash, or you're putting property over people. Yeah, let's unpack all three of those arguments. I'm not fucking fash. End of story, end of discussion. That's one. You're peace police. No. Look, you want to break windows into Starbucks? Have at it. You want to set fires? Have at it. You want to roll cars over? Have at it. You want to graffiti, death to pigs? Have at it. Don't do it in the name of Black Lives. Because here's the thing. You go home, and when you walk on the street afterwards, that's your fucking skin color. And you have white privilege. And you're dressed in head-to-toe black bloc because you're worried about getting picked up by the Seattle police when you have an 80% chance of the city prosecutor's office of not even taking the charges. That's right. Let's remember, there's an 80% chance that you will simply be inconvenienced for 12 hours. But guess who gets blamed? Because remember, you're in head-to-toe black. Guess who gets blamed for the fires and the broken windows and the graffiti and the disruption? Your white happy ass? Oh no, because you look like the fash. That's right, because you're white. The black people that you claim you're supporting, they're the ones who get blamed. Because they don't get behind their keyboards. They don't get behind their keyboards doing that. Going, look at those white people doing it. They go, that was Black Lives Matter that did it. Because see, it says on there in support of Black Lives. It's right there on the socials. You're shit. I said it. You don't like it? Fine. Fash want to kick my ass? You want to kick my ass now? Fine. But it needs to be fucking said. You want to do direct action? You want to disrupt business? Have at it. But don't take your battle against capitalism and then co-opt Black Lives Matter in the process. Because I'm going to paraphrase John Lennon. You say you want a revolution? Tell me that it's the institution. Hey, man, we could all use a little change. But when you talk about destruction, you know, you can count me out. Because you know what was chanted in June of 2020? And people like me who have continued to loyally show up for almost a year? White bodies to the front. You know why they said white bodies to the front? We didn't wear head-to-toe black, by the way, either. We wanted the police to see we were white bodies. You know why they said white bodies to the front? You know why people like me ran to the front with my camera and my white skin exposed? Because statistically, the police were less likely to respond as harshly, and the police were more likely to run past us, even if we were the instigators to go after black and minority people. And we were literally shields between them and the people. Oh, don't film us. No streamers. Are you fucking kidding me? You did see the pictures that the Seattle Police Department were taking of you from your cell phone on Tuesday from the roof of the West Precinct. You saw those pictures, right? You're in a city that is covered in cameras. Do you go to protests in black bloc with a cell phone in your pocket? Do you? Because they track your movements. And they could do it from airplanes, they could do it from helicopters, and they can do it from vehicles and the equipments they have. They can pick out your phone and track your movements on the phone. They don't have to get a hold of your phone to install apps that turn your phones into a microphone. Did you know that? There are already thousands of apps, including popular ones, that your phone could be turned to a microphone. Government has that. So are you going to block, worried about cameras with a cell phone in your pocket? Then you're a fucking idiot. You got people in Block that are literally Instagramming themselves. Go on Instagram, spend 30, 60 minutes searching around, doxing their own people. But I guess that's okay. Well, we take care of those people. It's not the no cameras thing. It's the stupidity of it. It's the utter stupidity of it. As somebody who streams, I've long accepted that my phones are tracked, my movements are tracked, my communications are tracked. I can't turn my phone off. There are certain things that I have covered where I have turned my phones completely off, even to the point of yanking SIMs out until I've gotten to the destination or left the area and then put everything back together. Because that's ultimately the only insurance policy that you have. Do you have a passcode on your SIM? Do you have SIM passcodes? Did you set that up? If you didn't, you're a friggin' idiot. Yeah, Pam, on Tuesday, the pictures that were released, keep your phones in a Dorito bag. It does help. Tuesday, when there were 3 people arrested, 2 for chalk art, which, by the way, we called out as total bullshit arrest, and 1 for obstruction, Seattle Municipal Code obstruction, not even RCW obstruction, Seattle Municipal Code obstruction, which is a great example of an arrest that the prosecutors will never prosecute. That was a 12-hour inconvenience for someone. It's friggin' in Nicaragua. You know what they worried about there? They don't worried about getting pinched on an obstruction or a trespassing or they worried about getting raped by death squads at 1 a.m. They worried about getting dragged out of their house at 2 a.m. and never seen again because their body got chopped up in the jungle. That's what people in Nicaragua worried about. Yeah, the problem is on modern phones, you can't yank the battery. I do know that Samsung has a new ruggedized phone. I'm actually looking at it for streaming. That one you can actually pull the battery. And the thing that's cool about it, the batteries last about 5 hours, even if you're in a high... They last more than all day, but if you're in a high-use scenario, they'll last for a good 5 hours. And the thing that I'm like, it isn't just that you can yank the battery and the SIM pretty easily on these, and it's ruggedized. The other thing that I really liked about it is that you can have more than one battery, so you could just swap battery in the field and not have to carry around battery packs and all the cables that I have to keep running continuous power. There's a huge shortage on semiconductors right now, and Samsung made this terrible business decision to not include a micro SD card slot anymore on their phones. So there's a semiconductor shortage, so you can't get a Samsung phone right now that doesn't have anything above 128 gigs of memory. 128 gigs of memory in 2021 is nearly useless. So and you have no way to add memory. Hence, I'm walking around with a 3-year-old Samsung phone that I would love to upgrade and give Samsung more money, but you can't anyway. And it's still going on. And Dora Ortega is a friggin' monster, and his wife is even worse. You'll learn to see that's smart. But, you get what I'm talking about. You get what I'm talking about. Well, I got to have my phone. How am I going to Instagram myself? It's not everybody there, and I know that. And I know not everybody in Block is white, by the way. I know that too. And I know there's at least one still black organizer leader involved in direct action. I know that too. And I have respect for that individual, and that individual I have talked, whether they realize it or not. But the rest of the country is like looking at it, just going, they don't get it. They don't understand. There's a couple, I talked about this on the stream, but then people can go back and check my receipts on this. 300-day march is a good example of this. 300-day march, number of black organizers there. There were people in Block looking for direct action, mixed in, which I kind of expected. And the black organizers were not having it. They saw anybody, when they stopped at West Precinct, did speeches for a good hour. They were complaining there were streamers, and they were basically told by the black organizers, there's cameras all around you. If you're worried about your face being shown, you should have put on better block. That's literally what one of the speakers said to them, and everyone laughed. There were other people that were getting ready to do some tagging or stickers, and they were told, no, that's not happening because we'll get blamed, meaning the black people. And then afterwards, whenever we got back to Cal Anderson, and there was a group that came down, the final kind of, the thank yous were going on. People weren't deblocking yet, but it was the final thank yous. And they were talking about, diversity of tactics. And we know that some of you wanted, so there was actually a black organizer was acknowledging the desire of direct action. And there were white direct action people talking over the black speakers and complaining. We couldn't even put stickers up. How the fuck can you say that you support Black lives when you are at a black-led rally with black and indigenous speakers and a black person is speaking directly to you with respect, and you're talking over them because they prevented you from damaging property? They were peace police. They sure did, Renee. And Renee, you were there. You know exactly what I was talking about the people complaining that they're streamers. They freaking got laughed at by black leaders, literally. Well, if you don't want to be seen, then maybe you should wear better block or not come. I heard people complaining at the event at Westlake where they felt it had been co-opted, that their event had been co-opted by leftists, which is ironic. More peace police. Mark Anthony was a speaker there. I know people have issues with Mark Anthony. I know that. Mark Anthony was, and when Mark Anthony was speaking, the people in Block, and Mark Anthony is on a stage speaking on a microphone, and people in Block started trying to chant over him. Well, I know it was a Black Lives Matter chant, but there was a black person speaking about racism and fascism. And I'm fash. You know what pains me the most? I'm the gray-haired, exhausted. I'm so fucking exhausted. Balding, white dude from the burbs. And I'm the one that's having to explain this. Dora, I know they did. I know it had been I know. Dora, I know, which is the whole frigging point. If there was anybody who had a right to go, what's going on? It'd be the Falun Gong protesters because they're at Westlake every friggin' weekend. If there's anybody who's like, who are these people? This is our intersection. You know. And then, let me tie into this. You're barely left of center. I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that statement. I wouldn't. But I'll put my soft, squishy body in front of a black person to keep them from getting their ass kicked by the cops without thinking about it. And I've done it. I think I've proven that over and over again. Carrie, I know. The other one that I found amazing is after these arrests, there was a story. I talked about this a little bit. Talk about it again. There's a story on Como about people questioning police tactics. I mean, if you're one of the block organizers, you might want to read this story on Como because you may adjust your tactics based on what Seattle police had to say. There's one of these moments where I'm like, they didn't just say what I thought they just said out loud because, like, whoa. Because I guess what people were going is, okay, Monday they marched to Seattle and windows got broken and there was graffiti and there were no arrests. And then Tuesday, you're outside of West Precinct, and people are arrested for chalk art. What the hell? And they're not just saying people in the protest community. They're saying, like, people within Seattle are going, this makes zero sense. You didn't break windows broken, blah, blah, blah. So what Seattle police had to say, well, on Monday, they were in block and they were moving. So it made it very difficult for us to figure out or identify, was it this person or that person? And so we couldn't make any arrests. But on Tuesday, when they were doing chalk art, we told them to move and they wouldn't move. And they were all in the same place and they were just there. So we could just pick some people out and arrest them. And I'm like thinking to myself, if I was an organizer with people that march in block, I guess the correct answer is you don't stop moving because the Seattle police are saying they can't handle that. Yeah, Como 4. They had a story up on Wednesday. They had a story up on Wednesday. I just can't believe that it was even said out loud, right? I'm like, they said this out loud? Oh, my God. So I don't know. Good luck tonight. I miss ENDD, and I miss their tactics. There's some people that were in that group. There were some people that I talked with a number of people in ENDD, and I always respect their operational security. I maintained a very professional business type relationship with that group. Never coordinated with them. There would be times people would come to me and say, hey, this is the plan for them. Like, no. Just tell me if you want me at the front of the group or the back of the group. I don't want to know. Plausible deniability, because if I know it increases my liability, I might be like, I'm not showing this. No. So I don't want to know. It's better if I don't know. It's better for you. It's better for me. I appreciate, and one time I was framed, well, we just want you to, I was like, I could take care of myself. Number one, I said, just don't let me be hanging 2 blocks behind by myself. If it's literally just 1 or 2 people can just be with me so I don't get grabbed by Fash, then fine. Um, there were smart, really smart people in that group. I was super impressed with some of the conversations that I had, and with very wise people on their years, with people who got it. Yeah, you definitely got to have a buddy. And, and a lot of times streaming don't. Um, and again, that kind of goes back to that trying to keep at the back of the group, trying to keep, out of the action. Every now and, like I remember one time, uh, that was in October. I was back of the group. Because if you're back of the group, you're showing back of the heads, right? So try to stay at the back of the group. The other thing is, if the police come to the front, you got a nice clear view, especially with pole cam. You get a nice clear view of the police coming to the front. If the police come in the back, I could just turn right around. Boom, police are right there. And then I can keep walking with the group, but have my camera pointing 180 degrees behind me. And then with my screen, although it's on a delay, I can kind of see what's going on. Corey, totally agree with that. Totally. I've had some crazy, amazing conversations with people in bars and pubs and stuff. Some of the smartest people I ever met in my life never graduated high school. Some of the dumbest people I've met in my life were held Harvard MBAs, which isn't me slamming Harvard, but like literally, I've met Harvard MBAs who'd go outside to study the rain and don't have the common sense to wear a raincoat. And I know some people who never graduated high school that have some of the most amazing insights and thoughts and views on life. And they just probably didn't finish high school because they were just bored to tears. And the system isn't set up for people like them. But I remember this one march. They basically turned down the wrong street. They had a planned route in their heads, I would presume. And they literally just turned down the wrong street. And it was a pretty big group. There's probably like about 200 people. And I could, and when there's that many people, you could barely hear what's going on up front. But it stops and I'm like, okay, we stopped. And I remember we stopped like in a weird place. And I could hear some chatter. And then all of a sudden just everybody turns around. Like everybody at the front starts turning around. Then everybody starts turning around. I'm like, oh, shit. Try to turn the camera as fast as I can. Then everybody's walking past me, and I'm like, and they literally just went down like the wrong street, stopped, and did a return. So I'm just super frustrated. I'm having a day where I don't feel there's enough progress. I'm having a day where I'm not feeling a whole lot has changed. I'm Gray Panthers. There we go. We'll start a group, the Gray Panthers. I love it. We're gray. We're pissed off. We don't think we're ever going to see our Social Security check, so we got nothing to lose. We'll be accused of co-opting the movement, of being the peace police. The peace police. Peace police. Go ahead and break shit. Nobody's telling you not to. Just don't do it saying Black Lives Matter. It goes back like to Tacoma. People went through, broke windows, smashed cars, graffiti, chanting Black Lives Matter, and they did it to black homes and black businesses. Yeah, that's a great way of showing Black Lives Matter. Real great way. Black community in Tacoma was beyond pissed about it and beyond frustrated. And when the black community in Tacoma tried to call it out there on the spot, they were told to go F themselves. And then people in the black community that showed up to show solidarity to a community that has members inside and members within that group that not only don't support Black Lives Matter, but are actively against them, but were there back in January because a police officer had driven through a crowd of people By the way, nothing's happened with that, if you remember. These people were there in solidarity for that. And they're like, screw it, we're going home. I mean, that's the stuff that people are talking about. I bring it up all the time. How many people have been arrested for breaking windows in Seattle at Starbucks? How many? Dozens? Dozens. Right? There's been a few hundred protesters arrested. I was actually surprised. Like if somebody said to me, David, how many protesters do you think have been arrested since May 26th in Seattle? Individual people. I would have gone like a couple thousand. And it's not. It's nowhere near that. It's in the few hundreds. I was really surprised to learn that. There are a number of people who have been repeat arrested. There's certainly a number of people who were arrested, just once. But I really would have thought the number would be a lot higher than it is. How many people? Dozens breaking windows at Starbucks. How many people have been arrested for the firebombing of Black Coffee? How many named suspects for the firebombing in Black Coffee? When was the last time we got an update on the firebombing from Black Coffee? From actually King County Sheriff or the Shoreline Police Department, not from the owners of Black Coffee. Thank you, Shell. Shell wins the internet. The answer is none. Shell wins the internet. See, this is why I'm like, look, you want to break windows, bring us down, fine, that's your priority. All right. I'm not going to tell you not to or to. But don't do it saying you're Black Lives, because you get to go home in your white skin and walk around the white street. And if you're a white defendant, you have a much higher chance of getting a pass by prosecutors. If you actually end up having to go to court, you have a much higher chance of getting a better outcome. The whole argument of, I might get federal charged. Yeah, there's a new sheriff in town in the White House, and like that whole, right, we're not an anarchist jurisdiction thing anymore, blah, blah, blah. That's off the friggin' table. I might get federally charged. Exactly, Renee. Right. Well, I mean, that's exactly it. He's gotten quiet. Isn't it funny, right? He is the master. I'll say this about Mike Solon. He is the master of taking it to the line. I'm going to take it to the line. Remember, he stepped in it. City council called for his resignation. Unions called for his resignation. The Fraternal Order of Police, something like that, called for his resignation. The mayor called for his resignation, right? Over his tweets, and boy, did he got quiet. After he doxed me, right, there was kind of this little thing, and the last little thing that you heard for a couple, like he did his thing at Como, he had his Como interview, and then he got quiet for a couple of months, and then started going again, and then he took it to the line, and now he's quiet again. He'll pop up again. Yeah, rubber bullets are meant to be shot at the ground at the bouts. That's why we're knee pads. If you guys see the video of the opening of the show, that it's all about the camera angles. That SWAT officer that raises that 40 millimeter gun, it's on the show opening there. That is pointed right at my fucking head. That's about point blank range. He is pointing that right at my fucking head. That is actually the only time at a protest where like my heart skipped a beat, where I was like, holy shit, I'm going to fucking die. It's like, I was really thinking my next conscious memory is going to be in a hospital bed, and here it comes. What's not caught on camera is that he does it again about 150 feet down that sidewalk. I stopped dead in my tracks when he did that. That particular shot, if you remember, is up on high as pole cam. I did not have the GoPro on the pole. If I had the GoPro on, that had just been, and I actually was like, I hope that's on the GoPro because it'd be an amazing camera shot. But it wasn't. I mean, I really did think my head was coming off that night. But yeah, they're supposed to be shot at, tear gas is supposed to be shot at range, not shot, directly into people. Flashbangs are supposed to be not tossed in the air. They're supposed to be rolled on the ground. They're not supposed to go off within a certain number of yards of or meters of people if they're being used as a crowd dispersal device. Seattle broke all those rules, but they're not using those tools anymore. And by not using those tools, I think they actually have lowered the number of people that are coming out on the streets. Not yet. They said they weren't going to get starting until 8. Yeah, Omari got it good. Boy, Eric Anderson. See, that's when I started. Funny, Corey. That's when I started wearing a cup. I saw Eric Anderson one night. He took it twice in the rocks one night. And I was watching him live when that happened, and like I ordered a cup the next day. I'm like, oh, wear a cup. And then there were some people, streamers and protesters, were like, you haven't been wearing a cup? I'm like, dude, wear a cup. I was like, that wasn't on the prep list. Things you should have if you're going to go to protests. That was not on the list, and it should. I was thinking actually making a TikTok video. If you're going to a protest, here are the things you should have. A cup. Because if you take a 40 millimeter round to the rocks, oh my God, you're going to wish for death. I know Eric Anderson got his world rocked. Not Eric Anderson, Eric, I'm mixing up names. Oh my God, Eric Greatwood, thank you. Eric Greatwood, thank you. Yeah, he got rocked. I think he took one on the foot that night too, like right to the friggin' foot, and he was not in boots. He was in soft shoes. I think he took 2 to the rocks and 1 to the foot. They were targeting him that night. They were clearly just going right after him. That's when they were targeting press real hard down in Portland. It's just frustrating. The other thing I want to talk about is this. And this will be some preaching to the choir. The people who should be listening to this stuff aren't listening to this stuff, so that's fine anyway. But I'm frustrated with the news side of things because I'm coming to kind of this sad realization. People complain about the mainstream media, and rightly so. And the next thing I'm going to say, you could be a pro-insurrectionist chud, and you could be an insurrectionary anarchist, and you're going to agree with this statement. One of the complaints about the mainstream media is the mainstream media doesn't show the whole story. Yeah, this is raw video tonight. They don't show the whole story, right? That's a common complaint. And it's true. They don't. There's a couple of reasons they don't show the whole story. Reason number one, they don't have the time. I look at the news cycle this last 48 hours. By the way, that wasn't the only police body cam video that was horrific to watch yesterday. It's just Adam Toledo's was the most horrific. There was another body cam video that was released, 11 minutes of video out of Ohio of a suspect in a hospital emergency room who gets just shot to pieces by the police, all on body cam. That one was released also. Now, full disclosure, before I get into this talk about the mainstream media, in that particular case, yes, that individual did fire one shot at essentially point-blank range at a police officer, and amazingly, nobody got hit. He was shot once. The officer who shot him, the gun jammed. That's the body cam video we see is all from that one officer, and his gun mightily jammed. And for the next 4 minutes, there's all this screaming and yelling. Yeah, Barbara, the body cam video was released yesterday. Same was released almost at the same time as Adam Toledo's video. I got to watch all that poison yesterday. That's why I'm a little rocked today. I watched all 11 minutes of that horror show in the ER in Ohio. Gun jammed, And so now the suspect is wounded. You have the one police officer who is in the room with the suspect who is now on the ground wounded, and you have multiple officers outside of the room. Now there's all this screaming and yelling of show us your hands, drop the gun, don't reach for your gun, show us your hands. And the dude, and you can see from other body cameras from the outside where he has one hand up, because the way he's laying, he's kind of laying right with the one hand out of sight. He's like, I am showing your hands. And they're like, you're not showing us both hands. And he just basically says, if I move to show you both of my hands, you're going to kill me. If I don't move, you're going to kill me. Like, I'm laying on the gun. Like, the gun's under me, and I can't, I really can't move. I'm showing you my hands. And the other officer at that point changes the clip, unjams his gun, gets back into a position. There's all this yelling, show us your hands, showing us your hands. And the officer that shot him initially fires another round. And then the other officers are out there. It's just a barrage of gunfire. You can't even count it. I didn't download the video because we weren't going to run it on the show. So I didn't download the video. But if I did, I could count the sound spikes, and then I could go shot, 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 shot. And I could tell you how many shots fired. Because you could see it in the sound waves. But a lot. And the officer that's in the room with him is totally shook. Back to this whole trauma thing. Totally shook. The officers who fire into the room, I don't know if that officer who's in the room with him knows how lucky he is that there wasn't a fragment or a ricochet, or I could have been in a world of friggin' hurt. So, you had that. But one of the common complaints is, don't show the whole story. One of the benefits that streamers, independent media have is you can show the whole story. Show the book. Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. There was no surviving this. He was a complete, they showed it. He's a complete bloody mess. They, at least some of it was, some of it was blurred out, unlike the shooting in, unlike the Adam Toledo shooting video. There was nothing blurred. Like, when I watched that video for the first time, it was just like, whoa. And as an EMT, look, I'll just, a little more therapy for a second here. As Adam Toledo started to crumple to the ground and I watched him start to go into the fetal position, and I was like, he's already gone. He's already gone. Shell, again, is just crazy. And you hear a doctor after it's all done. He's like, can I finally go check on my patient now? Like, the medical staff is just horrified that this happened in the ER. I'm mixing up cases. But yeah, go do a search. Happened yesterday. Or the body cam video was released yesterday. Happened not too long ago. Here's the thing. People don't want thoughtful content. They just don't. They don't want thoughtful content. It's really frustrating. And what I mean by thoughtful content is, investigative research, investigative reporting, deep research. Why doesn't this get covered? Why doesn't that get covered? This is so important. That topic, this topic. You know why? Because it doesn't get clicks. That's just all there is to it. I think the mainstream media, the mainstream media gets a lot wrong. The mainstream media is totally owned by corporate America. The mainstream media answers to corporate America. The movement of the newsroom becoming a profit center and not just we are here to inform the public, but we have to operate as a profit center. The movie network covers this so magnificently. The movie network is a masterpiece and predicted so much. I mean, the movie network essentially predicts Fox News. It's like stunning. And they didn't even think about the social media aspects of it. But people don't want the investigative stuff. I know what gets the clicks for us. Protesters getting run over by cars, that gets clicks. Starbucks windows broken, that gets clicks. It's not all of it. There's a couple of pieces we've done that get clicks. Oh, Corey, it's a great movie. But you see, the problem is, Pam, if they don't, then they have no audience. And it's not because, and it's not, well, if you build it, they will come. It's just people don't want it. They just don't want it. And then when people just want the ugly pieces mixed in with occasional puppies. We really needed the puppies yesterday, by the way. I'm so glad we had that story. So glad we had that story. They were so adorable. That was such a... Doing that story after watching all that, having to edit those videos, watch those videos yesterday, and then go, okay, now we gotta go shoot the puppy story. Oh, that was just so cool. And Pineapple's adorable. I have to admit, I saw Pineapple and I'm like, I love, oh, Pineapple's so cute. Anyway, people, they want the ugly stuff, and they just want it in short little bits. It's interesting. There's a song off of what I think is one of the best albums from 1985. Trust me, this isn't as much as a rat hole you think it is. It's Genesis' self-titled album, Genesis. There's a song on there, Domino. And the song Domino was written when one of the members of Genesis, I can't remember if it was Banks or Rutherford. I want to say it was Rutherford, but don't hold that to me. He was in Beirut during the Civil War, and all hell broke loose. And his flights got canceled, and he was trapped in Beirut, and he was separated from his family. And so he was experiencing Civil War firsthand. And in experiencing Civil War firsthand, this is what the song Domino is about. And one of the lines in their song is, did you see this thing on the TV? The thing that they showed last night? Maybe we'll be lucky they will show it again. Such a terrible thing to see. That's what people want. They don't want the thoughtful content. And then, people wonder why we get shitty politicians. People wonder why nothing ever changes. Because people don't want to listen to an intelligent individual or individuals, of who we've had the privilege to have several come on our show now and talk about important topics. People that actually could bring about change. Oh, Thea, this is another thing. Like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, and how the far right has weaponized reporting. Content creators have totally weaponized it, and having to tap dance around that, you better believe it. Like when we did the Adam Waffen story, that was one I knew would be targeted. That is why when in the Adam Waffen story, any gun, I don't know if you go back and you rewatch that show, anything that showed a gun, when we did the Adam Waffen story, the guns were all completely blurred out. Because I knew there would be, that's something they'll go after. Report showing the use of guns. Report showing the use of guns. Report showing the use of guns. No. We're going to blur that nonsense out just enough so you can't do it. But a lot of content creators don't know these landmines or don't have the technology or the skill to do the edits very quickly to get ready for a show to do that, or have the resources. And in that respect, I'm fortunate. So there's been arrests, like now. Do we have eyes? Is there anybody streaming at the No Streamer event? I have a feeling there's somebody who is. I think I know who. Pam, I totally agree with that. That was a big message in the movie Network, because this was the removal of this and turning newsrooms into profit centers. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the whole point of that. And it's real frustrating. It's real frustrating. Um, I had said months ago that I called it protest porn. I called that on the air. You know, the protest porn is eventually going to go away. I think there's going to be, if Chauvin walks, all bets are off. If Chauvin walks, I don't know anything specific. Pam, if you've never watched Network, you need to watch Network. Like, really watch and pay attention. But if Chauvin walks, holy shit. And I don't mean just Minneapolis. I mean, it's going to be rage. Going to be unbridled rage if he walks. I don't know what to think about it. The last thing I want to talk about, which is a frustration with the local community here, is we have Manny Ellis, we have Jesse Sarre. I know Charlene Lyles. I'm not minimizing, not at all. The story's awful. Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee's a name you're not hearing in the streets. You didn't hear Tommy Lee's name in the street. Tommy Lee was executed, flat out. King County Sheriff then tried to defend the sheriffs involved. You know, kind of like, well, I had to pay to make this go away. Good cop. Kid didn't have a knife. He had a pen. And there's even serious questions if he had a pen. Tommy Lee was friggin' executed. The King County Sheriff essentially defending it to the point that the council's called for their resignation. Of course, they're not going to resign. I mean, how do you build trust in the organization like that? But you didn't hear Tommy Lee's name in the street. You don't hear Manny Ellis's name. You don't hear Jesse Sarre's name. Jeff Nelson, Auburn police officer. Well, he's not but he's still on the payroll. Almost $100,000 a year. He's still getting paid. Could you imagine could you imagine someone in the real world, or even say the military, or even a congressman or a senator, and they're facing second friggin' degree murder charges, and it's on video, and they're still getting a paycheck? Can you envision this? An athlete, an Amazon employee, a Microsoft employee. Could you envision? Of course not, right? There has to be fired. Bob, can you come in here and bring all your belongings? We've seen some disturbing things about you in the news, and as much as we really appreciate all that you have done for us at Conglabo, we feel that it would be best if you sought opportunities at some other places. Here is a lovely person from Human Resources to tell you about your lovely departing gifts. But you can't, it's an employment at will state, and we've just decided that you would be better off seeking opportunities in other places because we just don't feel that accused murderers are a good fit for us right now. I mean, right? All right. Jeff Nelson's still getting paid. Back the blue, baby. But how come we don't hear Jesse Surrey's name in the streets? He's API. He's BIPOC. Is it because he was homeless? Is it because he was mentally ill? Is it because he had prior police interactions? Is it because his skin wasn't dark enough? Yeah, I'm going there. Why? Why don't we hear Manny Ellis's name on the street? Manny Ellis bugs me even more. Manny Ellis got the George Floyd treatment. Manny Ellis's last words were, "I can't breathe, sir." That's literally Manny Ellis's last words. We don't have 9 minutes and we don't have 8 minutes and 30 odd seconds of video, George Floyd, or now we learn 9 minutes, 26 seconds, right, of Manny Ellis. We have 37 seconds. That's it. And we have a little bit from a camera. Now, city of Tacoma at first was like, meh, and then George Floyd happened, right? And then it's like, okay, we're going to investigate this, and we're going to give it to Pierce County. And then Pierce County started investigating, and Pierce County's investigation was BS. And then the Governor Inslee pulled in and said, okay, Washington State Patrol is going to investigate this. And then the Washington State Patrol released their report on December 31, over 2,000 pages. And what do we learn in the Washington State? That a Pierce County sheriff was there. So you had the organization that was there investigating themselves before Governor Inslee intervened. Wait, it gets worse. It gets worse. Because now what we found out is, because remember they said, oh, we'll have an answer on charges by the middle of April. It's April 16th. We're past the middle of April. No answers on charges. But you know why? Because guess what they learned? There was a Washington State Patrol officer there when Manny Ellis died. Yeah. So the Washington State Patrol's investigation is total bullshit too. Isn't that great? Why aren't we saying Manny Ellis's names in the street? Could someone answer that for me? Is it because his family is emotionally exhausted, emotionally devastated, emotionally crushed, and doesn't want to be out on the street anymore? Is that it? Very rarely, Dora. Very, very rarely. Very rarely. I've been to Manny Ellis's rallies down in Tacoma and streamed them and seen like 20 people there. I know the family because I've talked with the family attorney a couple of times in hoping like to get an update or just a statement and trying to do it in a very respectful way. And you don't hear anything from the family because the family's completely exhausted. When Jeff Nelson was arraigned, there was like 30 people that showed up. Not one person. And at that time, Jeff Nelson was arraigned in August when things were still super active in Seattle. And there literally was not one face that I saw there in Kent. Not one person. Where I was like, hey, good to see you. Glad you're here. Not one. Jeff Nelson is the first and only officer being charged under Washington I-940. Why doesn't this fit the narrative? But hey, that's all right. No peace police. Sean Furr, yeah. Sean Furr's name I hear. Where? Corey, where? You can't say something like that and then not say where. Well, I'm looking at my camera here. Like, I don't know where. I don't know. I guess here. 1 second. Fine. Let me do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. Bear with me. Help if I spelt it right. Let's see. What do we got here? Let's see. WokeNet's all blurry. Can't see. Uh, oh, wow. Things are cray cray in Washington, D.C. right now. Things are crazy in Chicago. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Things look quieter in Brooklyn Center. Chicago looks crazy. Portland looks quiet right now. Brooklyn Center looks calmer than what it's been. But Chicago, and I don't know what's going on in Washington, D.C., but that's a fash feed there in Washington, D.C. It's a total fash feed on SPN. But here, let me do this. I don't scrape other people's feeds. It's something I could throw it up here. Oh, got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay, I hit SPN. You know what it says? That's right. It does say woke. You're right. I just was looking at the thing there. So, uh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised about Chicago. I was actually surprised how calm Chicago was last night. I was really surprised. Yeah, that's probably targeted shell because they know who he is. I mean, he's super well known. I mean, especially there, right? He's super well known. Um, all right, I kind of spoke my piece, and there'll be there'll be fun tonight. We know that. Just frustrated. I'm just frustrated with everything that's going on. Too many names, too much blood. I just don't feel people care. And I feel there's a number of people at this point that are doing things saying they're doing it in the name of Black lives, and they're just, I keep saying it. You want to break? Look, I'm not being peace police. You want to raise hell? Raise hell. Break windows. Set fires. Disrupt capitalism. Capitalism sucks. I've concluded that capitalism just sucks to the core. Are you a communist? No, but I do know that capitalism sucks to the core. Well, that's mighty snowflakey of you. No, it's mighty human of me. People shouldn't go bankrupt because they need health care in the richest country on the planet that spends the most on health care on the planet. Um, Corey, I mean, I get it, but then how come people aren't out on the streets? Where is everybody? Where are the people in June and July? The thousands and thousands of people that were like, I'm going to keep marching until there's change. Black Lives Matter. Where are they? It was all performative. It was performative. I I I do a lot behind the curtains. I do a lot. And there's some people that know. There's a thing with love. At least I can talk about love. If you're not familiar with love, love is when we had the snowstorm. We went and we had fun. We storm chased. Actually, I would storm chase 365 days a year if I could. Storm chased. I loved it. Oh my god, it was like old school malcontent. Storm chasing a snowstorm, and it turned out to be a historical snowstorm for us. It's the most snow ever measured at Seattle Airport, SeaTac, in 24 hours. And that's why I-5 was such a shit show. I-5 was terrible. If you're not familiar with the story of Love, Love was an unhomed woman who all of a sudden just appeared in, you know, terribly cold, wind, snow. Her car was broken down, and she was in a world of hurt. She could have died that night. Um, Courtney, I'll keep that in mind. Wife and I wildfire chase, you remember last year too. Wildfire season is predicted to be really, really bad. That may be something I may do as wildfire chase. There was some discussion. Like, there was a lot. There were times when I was like quiet in the car and I was like, look, I'm working on things, right? And asking people, and there'd be long periods of quiet, or I'm just chatting with love. And at the same time, you might see my head down because, I've got more than one device. And there was some discussion among our board members, do we show what's going on and stuff? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I am not using love as a prop to chase clout, right? We're going to do this with respect and dignity. And believe me, it crossed my mind. When I went to the bank and I got, right, because y'all were so generous with the money. And so then I went to the bank and I withdrew cash to go here for your car battery and your here. And it did cross my mind. I could bring the camera in when I did do this, because there's probably going to be one heck of a reaction, and we'll get thousands of views. It could go viral after the stream. And I'm like, no, that's just gross. And I've always felt stuff like that is gross because it feels performative. Love was a human being in grave danger. Malcontent stood up and said, oh, geez, CNN arrested again. That's in Brooklyn. We actually have boots on the ground in Brooklyn. That's a whole separate story. I'm not going to say who, what, where, or why, but we actually have boots on the ground in Brooklyn Center this weekend. Yeah, Brooklyn Center, I get it. But we literally have boots on the ground at Brooklyn Center this weekend. And I just, that's all I'm going to say. Shell, she was in wicked danger. It's no exaggeration that she could have died that night. And she was already shivering and cold as it was. If she couldn't have got that car started, she was in a world of hurt. Just a human being in trouble. And that's not, the board knows. It's not the only stuff that's been done. And there's other people that know stuff that it's been done. And I do it quietly because I'm not fucking performative. I'm just so frustrated. Just so frustrated right now. I really hope that Chauvin gets second-degree murder, and I hope they just lock him away for friggin' as long as possible, because that will restore a little shred of faith in humanity for me. I hope there is really good turnout tomorrow for support of the API community here in Seattle. It's their friggin' march, by the way. If you're planning to show up there to block and then be upset because there's liberals there. It's their friggin' event. I don't exactly know how the event, I believe, that's going on today went from this family-friendly planned event to anyway. Anyway, we are going to stream the Hing Hay Park thing tomorrow, and then we've got Nikali Rice events at Juanita Beach. Asia Pacific Islander. API is Asia Pacific Islander. It has replaced AAPI, which was Asian American Pacific Islander, because if you say Asian American, you are negating. It's the same thing like we don't say African American, right? A person can be Asian, but not from America. So that's why if you hear someone saying AAPI, pick your battles. Don't get into who's woke, who's more woke than others contest. I hate those also. So pick your battles. If you think you could gently adjust, gently adjust. Is it 3 o'clock? I think Hing Hay is 3 o'clock our time tomorrow. I think. Don't hold it. I know it's in the afternoon. I know I got to wear sunscreen. And I'm not feeling, I'm probably not going to be like in the whole full Megillah because I feel the fash. I don't see the police tear gassing a bunch of API people. That's not going to look. Optics will be bad. Thank you, Emily. Yeah, confirmed 3 o'clock. That's going to look really bad optics. I don't think the fash are going to be too much around for that. But anyway, we're doing that, and then we're going to do Nikayla's event on Sunday. Anyway, I think I've spoken my piece. I don't know if I feel any better. I really don't know if I do. Hing Hay Park, Courtney. It's at Hing Hay. So ID in the ID. Hing Hay is like 2 blocks up, block and a half up from the International District train station. There's a park in San Francisco that almost looks just like Hing Hay Park. It's all of the one with the I don't know. I don't want to get the culture wrong, but it has a lot of Asian iconography and architecture in there, and I don't want to get it wrong and insult someone. So, but anyway, it's in Hing Hay Park, and it's a solidarity march for API. I think I'm going to do some kayak therapy this weekend, Shelley. I think I need kayak therapy, and I think my daughter was the one who was like, it's really good weather for kayaking. Didn't get to kayak much last year, and I think kayak therapy sounds really nice. All right. Dr. and Mrs. Malcontent is home from a, yeah, Corey, that CNN got arrested for rioting. Oh, yeah, that's going to go over well with CNN lawyers and the ACLU. All right, now I'm worried about my boots on the ground. So I love kayaking also. All right, Malcontents. We'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully my head's in a better place. Thank you, Dan. Love you too, man.